The solution is actually an Iranian agreement to give up the program. I think that probably implies a change of regime as well, because the supreme leader's credibility is tied up very much with this nuclear program.
Minister claimed women and children are increasingly boarding craft across the channel. Is that true? And what more should the French and UK governments do to end it?
Holly got in touch earlier to say, when it comes to abortion, the older I get, the more I believe men have no part in this debate. It's uncomfortable to confront these things, but the process of producing children is not for men to dictate. They can't do it and have genuinely no knowledge of it. Women should decide on the law around abortion. We'll get into that at 8:30. You can WhatsApp us your thoughts on anything on that, on grooming gangs, on the situation in the Middle East, your thoughts on all the things we're talking about. 0333 003 2353. Text on 87222, starting with the word Times, or email our producer Emma on studio@times.radio.
It's 6 minutes past 8. Israel says it took a sudden opportunity to kill the chief of staff of Iran's armed forces. They say Ali Shadmani is the closest man to the Iranian leader Ayatollah Khamenei. In a moment, we'll get the assessment of the former head of MI6 and whether there's a risk for us here in the UK. But first, let's speak with IDF spokesperson Captain Marsha Mickelson. Good morning.
Good morning, Kate. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for joining us. Can you tell us more about this sudden opportunity to kill the army chief of staff in Iran?
Certainly. Over the past few days, what Israel has done and showcased with the incredible abilities of our Air Force is we have opened the road to Tehran. Yesterday we have revealed that we have eliminated a third of Iran's ballistic missiles arsenal. We have eliminated a lot of aerial defense systems and eliminated many senior commanders. And so this elimination today that we're putting out of Shadmani is yet another commander who is very close, or was very close, to Iran's supreme leader, leaving him more and more exposed without his closest circle. And so with IAF fighter jets and other aircraft constantly in the sky over Iran, ever since Thursday night, we gain more and more possibilities with our precise intelligence that has been collecting for months and years over Iranian regime terror figures. Now we get the opportunity, with eliminating threats on the ground, to actually remove those threats in the form of eliminating commanders, in the form of striking ballistic missiles, launchers, nuclear sites, and other terror abilities of the Iranian regime.
What is the overall aim here? I mean, originally the discussion was around the nuclear program, but this seems to be much broader. So what would constitute a win here for Israel?
Before we talk about a win, we need to talk about the threat. It's not just the nuclear program. Even without the nuclear warheads, Iran's ballistic missile arsenal is an existential threat to Israel in and of itself. We are seeing, unfortunately, nightly hits to civilian population centers in Israel. And that's just ballistic missiles. If any of those missiles had a nuclear warhead, the damage would be unimaginable. And so we're talking about a triple existential threat: the nuclear program that has been developing for months, covertly, getting closer and closer to the point where we will have very little to do if we had not acted when we did.
I'm interested on that point. Did you have proof of an immediate threat to Israel from Iran before launching this latest attack?
Yes, definitely. Our intelligence has been collecting for years and months, and concrete evidence shows that what Iran has been developing in its nuclear program, also agreed upon and reported by the agencies for controlling nuclear energy in the world, they are not developing anything that can be interpreted as not building toward a nuclear bomb.
Well, did Israel have proof that Iran is capable now of developing a nuclear weapon? Do you have proof of that?
Once we were to get to a point where Iran would have had a nuclear warhead, it would have been too late. The proof that we have is that Iran has been close enough to where, if it were to make a decision, it could have gotten to up to 15 nuclear bombs in a very short amount of time. And that is an existential threat to Israel, because this is a regime that has openly said, its leaders have openly said for years, that they want to annihilate Israel. They want to wipe it off the map. They chant death to Israel, death to the West, death to America. They have a clock in Tehran to this day counting down to 2040 to the destruction of Israel. And that's not a threat that we take lightly, and that's not a threat that we can live in. And so every night what we're seeing is just the Air Force exhibiting incredible abilities, while simultaneously, some nights, 2 nights ago, defending Israeli skies from barrages of ballistic and UAVs while simultaneously striking terror targets in both Iran and Yemen. That's incredible flexibility, incredible, fighter jets that are flying all over the Middle East.
Let's talk about. We don't have huge amounts of time, and there is a lot to get through on the program with this interview that I'd like to talk to you about. The Israeli Defense Minister, you've mentioned a lot of the nuclear targets and the military targets, but the Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz said Tehran's residents will pay the price. Residents are obviously civilians. That seems to be an admission that you are targeting civilians in Iran.
Yes, but that also seems to be an admission on your part that you're not looking at the most recent statement of the defense minister. And though I will not comment on comments made by our political echelon, the IDF is targeting military targets, nuclear facilities, launchers.
Yes, but the Israeli defense minister said Tehran's residents will pay the price. I'm just asking you what was meant by that, because that sounds like targeting of civilians.
I'm not the spokesperson of the defense minister, and I suggest that you do your research a little bit better and find his most recent statement where he corrected himself.
He corrected himself, but the original statement was talking about Tehran's residents. So what did he correct? What did he say to correct himself?
Again, I'm not the spokesperson for the defense minister. I think you should do your research a little bit better and look into that and talk to the Ministry of Defense if you want to get a comment from them.
We invite the Ministry of Defense on the programme every single day, and they are more than welcome to join us on the programme. We also saw the hit on the TV station. Do you view broadcasters as military targets?
The IDF has always said that we view free press as one of the most important core principles. This building was used by the Iranian terror regime for distinct military purposes. We have intelligence pointing to that. Unfortunately, that's intelligence that we cannot share, but believe you me, we're striking military targets of a terror regime that is threatening to annihilate the state of Israel and the West.
Do you understand, I suppose, why some of these questions are being directed at Israel? Because there are some concerns here about some of the targets, about the way that the targets are being chosen, and they are concerns that have been directed at Israel before when it comes to what's happening in Gaza.
Are you asking me if I believe in the validity of the IDF's targets? Yes, I do. Every target that is chosen in the IDF is pre-approved by an array of legal advisors. And if any commander in the higher up commands has questions or doubts as to the method of the strike, that target is not struck on that day, and it goes back in the planning process until every level of approval is satisfied.
But that doesn't happen every time, does it? Because there are examples in Gaza where the IDF has admitted that mistakes have been made. Overnight, we've got reporting from the Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry that over 30 people were shot at an aid distribution centre. Do you know what happened there? They are reported to be civilians, that over 30 people have been killed. Do you know what happened?
I will not go into details about last night because we don't have all the details yet. But unfortunately, what we're seeing is, first of all, not shooting at aid distribution sites. There is no IDF forces at aid distribution sites. Unfortunately, while the IDF is securing the area around those compounds, which is a closed military area, there are pre-coordinated routes that people need to go through. And when a mob of people strays from that route, there are warning shots fired at times. I will not go into details of what happened last time because we don't have them yet, but it is a complex operational situation. While we are facilitating the GHF to open its compounds and to get the aid directly to the Gazan people, we also know that this is something that bothers Hamas greatly. Hamas being a terrorist organization that seeks control and destruction, and controlling its people through food has been a major tool of them. And so when they don't get to control the food that their people get through the GHF distribution centers, that rattles them. And we know
more broadly,
use those mobs of people going to get their food directly from the GHF. They are planning to take cover in those mobs and execute terror actions toward the troops.
More broadly, there is a question about what happens next. President Donald Trump has left the G7 early. There is a suggestion that there could well be talks between Steve Witkoff and the Iranians to try and reach a diplomatic agreement here to end this conflict. Would you support that diplomatic route?
I'm a military spokesperson. I'm here speaking to you in uniform. What I can speak to is the military targets that we're striking. We have a political echelon and a war cabinet. America is one of our greatest allies, and we are in close communications with them throughout. every decision that will be made on the political echelon can be translated into a directive to the military actions, and we will act accordingly.
And is it your understanding that Israel has asked for America's help to target particularly the Fordo area, which can only really be got at with America's help by the weaponry that America has? Has Israel requested that help from America?
The operation so far has been an Israeli action alone. I will not go into our communications with our partners. I will leave it up to those channels that need to be left alone to function properly. Again, America has proven itself to be one of our closest allies and friends, while also helping defend the Middle East sky from the constant attacks from Iran, both in this operation, but also before in October and April. And so while I will not go into what we're talking to them about, so far, Israel has been acting alone. America is a sovereign country with its own military, and it will make the decision that is best for America while we make the decisions that are best for the people of Israel.
Captain Marsha Mikkelsen from the IDF, thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you.
We can talk now to the former head of MI6 Sir Richard Dearlove, who joins us now. Richard, good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
Very good, thank you. We're hearing that's the Israeli military perspective. Kate was asking about America. Donald Trump left the G7 meeting early. To do something. He said do something more important than arrange a ceasefire. What do you think America can plausibly do here? What do you think America will plausibly do here?
Well, I don't think it's surprising that the President of the United States, when you've got a major conflict in the Middle East, wants to go back to the war room in the White House with all the support that he would receive from the intelligence community, from military advisors, political advisors. I mean, I'm pretty surprised he went to the G7 meeting at all.
Okay.
So I don't think it necessarily indicates a step towards American military involvement, but it certainly indicates the depth of their concern, because obviously they're an influential player, whatever happens next.
We heard earlier from a former Trump ambassador, and she told the story of how George Bush said to her once that they've got bunker-busting bombs back in the 80s, and they could have gone after the Iranian nuclear capability there, but they wanted to leave it to the next administration. Trump clearly does have these bunker-busting bombs. That's what's going to be necessary, would be necessary if he wanted to take out the nuclear capacity in a military fashion. Do you feel that's a legitimate option for the Americans to use their hardware to go after the nuclear administration in Iran?
Well, I think this is a deliberate uncertainty. No one is stating at the moment what American willingness is in terms of policy. But what you, I think, have to understand about the whole of the nuclear issue, this has been evolving to a crisis for more than 20 years. I mean, it started when I was in MI6. We were very concerned, and this is back, in the early 2000s. We were worrying then about Iranian construction of nuclear centrifuges and push to purifying uranium up to a level where it was fissile material for weapons. And there have been many, many different initiatives and attempts to stop this program. Some partially successful in delaying it. But I think those of us who know about the problem, the threat to Israel, are not surprised at all that it's come to a head. And the Americans will play a role. Look, in terms of a meeting now between Witkoff and the Iranian foreign minister, that's only 2 out of 3 parties. The Israelis the ones that are going to have the important say. And I think the deal is exactly the deal that they were trying to negotiate in Oman. It was a 60-day deadline for the Iranians to give up their nuclear program. That's the solution at the moment. And they haven't given it up. Israel probably, in American terms, jumped the gun in mounting their attack. The United States probably still, supports ultimately the policy. And I think the deal for Iran is, look, what's happened? Are you going to give it up now?
And the point is, as you say, there's been diplomacy for years and years, and the program has continued subtly, sometimes secretly. And then I guess the problem is, if Iran doesn't give it up, is the only solution some form of direct military intervention from America?
Well, no, a solution is actually an Iranian agreement to give up the program. I think that probably implies a change of regime as well, because the supreme leader's credibility is tied up very much with this nuclear program. So the question is, could there be, for example, a military coup inside Iran? I mean, we can't see any opposition or any organized opposition. How's the government going to change? It has to be maybe a component of the present government that is prepared to compromise on this and say, right, it's clear we can't have this program because of the, as it were, massive downside to Iran.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just speculating on what the outcome might be, but I can't see Trump or the Americans changing their policy. And I think they've tried to negotiate with the Iranians, and the deal, I think, was no nuclear program at all.
Yeah. And that's what they're still got to try and negotiate. Before you go, Richard, Blaise Metrorelli has been announced as the first female head of MI6, one of your successors. Is that a sign of something, that it's a woman, or just the best person for the job and we don't need to get hung up about that sort of thing?
I very much hope that she's the best person for the job. I hardly know her. I had retired by the time, I was on the point of retirement when she joined the service. I'm sure she has been chosen as the outstanding candidate, and I wish her all the best in what is a very challenging job at a very difficult time. And I'd like also to point out, she is from Pembroke College, Cambridge, where I was master. So this is rather extraordinary. 3 out of 18 chiefs since 1909 have come from one Cambridge college.
They must put something in the port, Richard.
Oh, it's definitely in the DNA.
It's the DNA, not the port. Fair enough.
Please point out to Kate that I'm wearing a well-tailored jacket.
Sir Richard always wears a well-tailored jacket. Yes, he does.
Does he show me up?
He does show you up, I'm afraid, Stig.
Kate and Richard do a podcast together, so he looks proper, does he, when he does it?
Yes, he always looks proper.
Well done, Richard. You look proper, you sound proper. Thank you for joining us today.
Okay, pleasure.
That's Richard Dearlove there, the former head of MI6.